Hello everyone and welcome back to Nagash, which is a channel dedicated to Age of Sigmar, and in this video we are going to be talking about the General's Handbook 2020, and this is going to be just a summary video, so we're basically going to look over a few things in the book, but mainly probably look at the point changes, and if we want to do more sort of in-depth review on this General's Handbook, I may do a later video sort of comparing, seeing what battle plans have changed. So joining me we have Monty. So how are you doing today, sir?
Hello, I am doing well, thank you. Yourself?
Very good, thank you. Very good. I did not get involved in the mess of the 40k pre-order today, so I am in a very good mood. Monty had a bit of trouble.
Wish that could be said for all, yeah.
Okay, so the things we're going to look in this video is going to be the Anvil of Apotheosis, and I say that wrong.
Apotheosis.
If I say Anvil, you say
Apotheosis.
Fantastic. Is it a real word?
I have no clue on that.
I'm gonna say it's not a real word, so then I can pronounce it.
It sounds cool.
Exactly. It's like when I'm trying to read like the Beast of bloody Chaos Law, when I'm trying to. All their names are made up, and it's horrendous. Anyway, we'll be going through this. We'll be looking over the battle plans quickly, and then we will be going on to the points, which I'm sure most people are pretty much concerned with. I'm going to try and show the pictures throughout this video, as you can see on your screens. If this is not allowed by GW, then we'll find out as a community later. But to start with, we'll have a look at the Anvil of Apotheosis. Is that right?
Yeah.
Fantastic. We're not going to pronounce it anymore. Okay, so we're not going to read word for word. We're just going to mention what this is. So the Anvil, essentially, it allows you to make your kit bashes in the game, make your conversions of models into their own unique characters rather than having to fit certain war scrolls that already exist. Would you say that's a fair way to explain what this is?
Yeah, pretty much. You can, either turn your kit bashes into a war scroll or a custom war scroll into a kit bash, but it brings this level of customization to characters and things you want to just creatively make for the table. Exactly,
and I think and maybe some people out there, and probably myself included, I would say, well, you could do this before between your mates. You can make up, your own rules and all that sort of thing for your own, conversion. But you could, but it's always nice to have it like officially written down of how you would do so. And I am like I've said many times, and leading up to General's Handbook, I'm a massive fan of doing kit bashes and conversions. I really like making my models unique. It's not saying I'm amazing at it. I just like to make my models mine. And sometimes, though, it can put you off a little bit doing that because there's not always a huge incentive. But with this, it's absolutely great. And there's a way for you to be able to use your own made war scrolls, conversions, characters into match play. All I would say is take it with a pinch of salt, because nothing's ever going to be completely balanced, but they've tried to help that out. Is that something you're excited about, Monty?
Yeah. I'm hoping I can maybe create a few things. I mean, it'll be interesting because my armies aren't quite as the sort where you can have the diversity. They're a bit sort of flesh eaters. They're kind of just crazy stabby guys who want to rip you apart. My Seraphon, you can do a bit more choice with that. But it'll be interesting to see what comes out of this, because you see the rules and a couple of ideas come to head. Maybe characters that you've created with your armies as you've played through the years, and you can finally give them the rules you want. So everyone is going to have different ideas, different characters, and as I was saying, this is really going to play to the creative side of kit bashing and that sort of thing in the community.
Exactly. Couldn't agree more. And the only other thing I would say onto this is, if you're, let's say you've been playing the game for a while, you've been playing since Fantasy days, and you may always have that one character that, I say that one, most of the characters died. So one of the characters that died doesn't really have a place anymore in the game. There's not really any rules for them. They're not really legal anymore. You can make them up. So, for example, I really like Vlad von Carstein. You can make up rules to put him back in the game. I've got a what else do I have? I have a few of the other vampires as well, and I've got a Sisters of Twilight on Forest Dragon, which I think there might be an Order War Scroll for, but now I can try and fit it better into the game, which was the conversion I did from Forge World. So I've got all these loads of different things as well to put in. I can make my Sinesh army that's quite unique, try and adapt the rules a little bit to make it fit my theme. And that's not just saying make it all really powerful, it's just to try and when you're having especially narrative games, really, really cool stuff. Okay, so now that we've explained what this is, how does it work? So essentially, you start off with kind of like when you play a 2,000 point game in Age of Sigmar, you also have the choice to play a 1,000 point game to see what limit you go to. With that, when you come to building your character, you have what are known as destiny points, and that are the points, the resources you use to build your character. So you can have a limit of 20 or a limit of 40. So obviously, limit of 20 is going to be for more smaller characters. Limit of 40 is going to be your Destroyer of Worlds. So it already has a bit of a foundation to base it on, and then there are 6 steps to follow. Which firstly is choosing your points, then you'll choose your hero's race, and then you equip your hero with a weapons and armory, and then you pick an archetype for your hero, so you know commander, mage, or acolyte, and then you choose a bestial companion for them. Favorite part, I'm sure that's going to be, and then you spend your remaining destiny points on any characteristic enhancements or abilities for your hero, so you know the lower part of the war scroll, which is cool. I'm going to try and not call them depravity points because I know DP that's engraved in my head from horrible memories. But destiny points sounds a lot more fun. So right, what we're going to do is, forgive me if I like zoom out and zoom back in, because I basically like I say, screenshot a lot of these photos from the GHB on my app on my phone, so it's a little bit out zoomed when I go through the pictures, but we'll zoom back in, it will be fine. So looking at the races we have on offer, we have Aelf, a Bone Splitter Orc, we have Bulgor, Demon, Death Mage, Dragon Ogre, Dwarden, Gore, Grot, Human. Stand by whilst I get the other ones up. With Ironjaw's Uruk, we have
Ironjaw, Malignant, Morden, Mortal, Ogre, Ossiarchs, Saurus, Skaven, Skeleton, Skink, Stormcast, Sylvaneth, and Vampire.
Like a wet dream we are. Okay, so going over it. Basically, depending on who you go for your hero archetype, is going to be how many points they cost. So, as your basic foundation. So if you go Immortal, so that's going to be for a Chaos Army, you know, think of a Marauder, something like that. That's going to cost you 4 points to start with. However, if you go with something like a Ogre, big, tougher, stronger, that's going to cost you 7 points. And you can see where that's reflected. So if we look at the Mortal's War Scroll quickly of his wheels, he's got a 5-inch movement, he's got a 5-up save, Bravery 7, 5 wounds. The Ogre, 6 move, 5 save, 8 bravery, and 7 wounds. So you can see how it starts to reflect already in the points. Do you think that so far so good, Monty, on how it's building?
So obviously each race, they've got their default stat wheel depending on their race. And as we get into these, we'll see the customizations come through where you can change these up as you see fit, being able to add some here, add some there, and costing destiny points to do so as you do.
That's good. So my question for you is, that out of all the races you can choose from, what's made you pick Vampire?
What's made me pick Vampire? I gotta say, I think you might have misheard me earlier when I was talking about Saurus. I understand that they sound quite similar, Vampire, Saurus.
Just go Soul Blight, you know, it's very confusing. Just going to zoom in on the Vampire bit, just so we can.
And it's an understandable confusion.
It's got to be cool to see some dinos, especially mounted. What about a dinosaur mounted on a griffin? Who knows? The possibilities are endless. Okay, so
stop there. Go dinosaur on griffin.
On dragon.
Exactly.
Would that be a thing? Okay, so me and Monty could ramble on about this for a very long time. We're not making any sense, so it's good to make some sense. So after you've picked your what dinosaur, what vampire you want, or other options are available, if you're weird. Let us have a look at the armory. So we have a choice of what to equip you guys. So we've got one-handed weapons, we've got two-handed weapons, and we have got a missile weapon, and we have got a shield. So we're looking at the one-handed weapons. We have things like a sword, axe, hammer, spear, unarmed strike, so claws presumably, or not, because the damage for that does not look very good. Flail, improvised weapon, and then for the missile weapons you have a hand bow. For two-handed you've got things like great sword, great axe, grand hammer, great spear, mage staff, scythe, and then for the missile weapon you've got a bow. You think it'd be a long bow, but just a bow. So I don't know if you've had a chance to have a look at these, Monty, have you?
Yeah, I've sort of glanced through the general aspects of the Anvil, and all of the weapons at core are very basic, sort of infantry line weapons, hitting on fours, wounding on fours generally. Most of them not having any rend, most of them only doing sort of 1 damage. But again, coming in later, there's ways to improve them. The shield is sort of the first thing that pops up that can improve the stat line, the stat wheel of your hero, and this gives you +1 save essentially. So if you were saving on 4s, now your saves are 3s, and that's fun.
So if you're a Bone Reaper's hero,
Petrifex Elite Bone Reaper's hero,
1-up save. What I would say is, I think rightly, it might at first seem a little bit bland, but I think rightly they're playing it quite safe.
And I think this is generally focused towards maybe if you're playing over a while with your friends, or if you're doing a narrative campaign. There are ways to use them in match play. It goes over this, but you do need to agree with your opponent that it's fine for you to use these in match play.
Yeah, and I think that's just, God forbid, I can't remember what the word-for-word player code is when we put our hands in our hearts and try and recite it. However, it basically is just being a good person. Give your opponent a heads up that you're bringing a model that they haven't heard of or even knew existed, with rules they did not existed before the game. And if you're planning on taking it to a tournament, and for some reason the tournaments haven't mentioned if they're accepting them or not, just send an email just so you have an understanding, I think. Yeah, cool. So far, happy with that. And then going on to the next thing while I get it loaded up is going to be the archetypes. Fantastic. What are your thoughts on the archetypes, Monty?
I mean, personally, I'd probably just be using Commander most of the time, just because if I'm making a Saurus character, that's the only one I can use. But they all seem to have... Again, it's sort of like little buffs, and you buff up your hero little by little. This sort of being your command abilities in this, if you're doing the Commander, or giving yourself a sort of prayer that you can do, which can... you have a chance of buffing friendly units around you, or you can get spells if you're making a wizard. And if that's what you're doing, that's cool.
Yeah, it's you've got your 3 different types. You've got your priest, your commander, and your wizard. So you already have an idea before you're building your guy what you're going for. And you're right. At first it looks like the hero hasn't got too much going on, but towards the end it does. It's like, I don't know, Monty, have you ever eaten at Subways as an example?
Oh, a couple. You start off with the bread, not really interesting. By the end of it, delicious. So that's kind of the same concept I've seen Games Workshop's going from here. Maybe we'll see. Would be quite tasty. Okay, so moving on to the next bit. We have the Bestial Companions, my favourite part. Cool. I don't really know how good this is yet, because I'll be honest, and I'll say this now, I haven't actually really read through this GHB until we're looking at it now. I was planning on doing it for the video, but didn't have time, so it's all new to me. Okay, so we have 3 different types of Bestial Companions you can choose to go with your hero. So the first one, and obviously it's going to go from weak to strong,
is your minor beast. So these are things like your hunting hound, your griff hound, your ethereal hound, anything with a hound in it. A cat maybe if you're weird. There's lots. So these are basically your wolf. If you've seen Game of Thrones, your direwolf, that sort of size of things. They're pretty basic, but they are cheaper compared to having a proper mount that your hero will ride upon. So it's okay. I think the minor beast, if I may say so before you put your thoughts on it, Monty, is for me a case of it's mainly there just to for the sort of hobby aspect of the conversion regions, to give your guy like a little pet. I think is the not for rules.
Yeah, and I think the thing I like about that is it's a very characterful addition.
Characterful, that's what I was looking for.
Yeah, being able to give your character a distinct companion, sort of like this bestial companions, and we'll mention these in a sec. But being able to give them completely unique ones it's really good for being able to make the character you want.
Yeah, I think it's that lovely little touch, and so I think that's all we can say for those guys so far. So going on to the mounted beast, so what we tend to see:
horses, that sort of thing.
Horses, Carcadrax, Dracofs, or even though nothing seems to be as powerful as a Dracof. The other things people ride upon, loads. Let your imagination go wild. So the Realm of Shadows is a very dark and very pleasurable place. Okay, so mounted beast. And what you will see with these is that they haven't got loads of different attacks. They've just got 2 attacks each. And they all happen to be the claws and more. But I would just like to say for you guys, if you're thinking your names for these weapons are very generic and I don't like it, on the War Scroll that you can download to create your own character, you can just change the names. So don't worry if my mount doesn't for some reason have claws or does not have a mouth. You can make it then have a spiky tail or something. You can change the scroll. And the mounted beast is very standard. It's not a very powerful mounted beast, but it's not hitting. I was going to say it's not hitting on 5s, but it kind of is for the claws. So I think playing it safe is a word it's a phrase I'm going to keep saying.
I think you will see this, as we said before, they start bland. Once you add in your own flavor text, your custom models to all of this, it's where it makes it sound more interesting. As you were saying about changing the name of things, rather than just claws, you can make them ferocious claws or gnashing maw.
Or forensic hoof attack.
All of the above, and it makes it sound more interesting. And this is a skeletal structure for you to build around at the moment.
That's cool. I'm going to make one that's all going to be about psychological pain. So it's going to be things like adult responsibilities, childcare, all those. It's going to be a
terrifying.
Oh, it'll be horrendous. I'm going to put it on a bone for something. Right, okay. The next thing I want to talk about is the one we're all kind of interested in, which is the Gargantuan Beast. Can I make my own dragon rider? Something like that.
Yes.
So, right. Oh, and something I'd just like to say is for the Minor Beast, it's absolutely fine. Everyone can do them, even your Saurus. But when you go to mounted to Gargantuan Beast, no Bulgors and no Dragon Ogres. I will admit, Dragon Ogres riding upon a dragon would maybe look weird, but dinosaurs riding dinosaurs is fine. So, we're all up to change. But a Minotaur riding a dragon or something of equivalent, that would be a beautiful thing to see, would it not?
It'd be quite the sight.
It would be. I mean, I feel sorry for the dragon because that thing must wait. But
it'd have to be hell of a dragon.
Yeah, it really would. Okay, but going on to the Gargantuan Beast, and as we can see when we're going through this, like I say, we're not doing a full review. We're just talking about our thoughts. If you go for the Minor Beast, you add 1 to your heroes' wounds. If you go mounted, add 2. If you go Gargantuan, you're adding 8. So if you think, my hero's starting off with weak wounds, you can easily add it up. But the Gargantuan is going to cost you 15 points. So bear that in mind. So yeah, quite standard. But to be fair, the more attack does more damage than my Corn Dragon from Forge World for some reason. Yeah, it's 3 damage, that bloody ball. It can fit a Saurus in its jaws. Okay. And then it basically just says very standard things. A couple of alright monster attacks, good jaws, and then a damage table to add to your hero. That's pretty much all they're adding with this one. It's obviously the biggest one, but it's just effectively making your guy a monster.
Thinking about the Gargantuan Beast, it's very hard to fit this into the champion, the 20 destiny point limit, because this is costing 15, as you mentioned. But if you went with a really cheap hero, like a skink, just on a huge dragon, fit that into the 20 destiny point limit, I think that'd be quite funny.
I think that would be great, because you could do the 21, and then you could say to your mate that, oh, why don't we try it out? We'll both do 20 to start with. And your mate goes, all right. He goes for about 17 points, and you bring this. You go, yeah, I charge first. Well, I think I know who's going to win. Cool. Yeah, I was very excited with the Beast Companions, and I'm not disappointed. So going on to the 6th and I believe final stage, if I am.
We still haven't talked about the
what do we miss?
Options. The options for them.
Oh, sorry. Okay, so how I screenshot it, like one page was talking about the what mounts you can go for, and then the next page. There we go, double-sided. Cool. So we've got. Do you want to take us through these ones, Monty?
Sure thing. So these options is where you add this flavour, the meat to your characters, and we'll get on to talking about the character ones next. But these ones are just for the mounts, and you can do things like give them wings, a breath attack, make their damage better, and give them the sort of abilities that you might see on a box standard Carnosaur, Terrorgeist, or Star Drakes, those sorts of things. And yeah, this is where you flesh them out. These can be a bit pricey as well, as is the Gargantuan Beast, and you sort of want to be looking at taking some of those in the 40 destiny points. But even if you just have a minor beast, sort of for things like 1 destiny point, you can add 1 to the attack's characteristic of a weapon of its choice, or you can make it better to hit with one of them. So it ranges from giving it wings to just slightly improving one of its weapons, which is interesting, and I think this more customization is really good.
It gives it that flavour that you need, like you said, and like we say, as we mentioned several times, like building blocks here, isn't it? Building it up. And,
yeah, it's building a Lego set.
And yeah, and exactly, and there's no mass apart from if you give your guy a Gargantuan Beast is probably the biggest example, but there's no massive sudden step in this in these building block process, and the reason behind that is so you have lots of little choices to try and find the build for your certain model, rather than your guy going, well, he might be holding a spear, but I'm just going to call it an axe so he fits in here. Like, I think they do a good job by giving you lots of little pieces to play with to be able to build exactly the hero you want, rather than there's a few building blocks. You don't have to
proxy anything.
What's that?
Yeah, you don't have to proxy anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Everything can be as you see it. If you have this horse with wings, you can have your hero have a Pegasus if you want, and you could let your imagination run wild.
Yeah, if you want to put an Imperial Knight in Age Sigmar, I'd say good luck to you. But pretty much everything's been made for you. Okay, so there's that, and then going on to the final step, and this is like the final bit of flavour, talking about characteristics and enhancements and abilities. So we have the characteristic enhancements and abilities on the left and right, pardon me. So it's just 2 lists by the looks of things that you can pick from. And there's standard things like add 1 to your hero's move characters, add 1 to wound, add 1 to bravery. Things like pick 1 of your hero's weapons, not including mounted weapons, improve the wound characteristic of that by 1. And again, this doesn't sound like huge steps, but this is just, if you looked at your hero to start with, and you go, oh, I just wish he had, a bit better movement or a bit better wound characteristic. This is a finer way for you to go for, and don't feel like you can only pick one of these. Remember, it's all about how many DPs you got. So if you've been saving your I was going to call them depravity points, destiny points, you can really start stacking them here, I believe.
Yeah.
So this, I think this is where a lot of the flavour is in this last bit here.
If you're not taking a mount, this is where all your destiny points are going to go, realistically. And we've been talking about destiny points and spending them here and there, and starting with the base 20 and the base 40. But if you're playing with the same friends over and over, it mentions just afterwards that sort of you can agree to with your friends that after every game a character can gain so many destiny points. So like in here it just says sort of a stock D3, but it's nice that sort of you can have this growth beyond just the allotted points.
Yes, I think it's again, it's them basically saying to you, which is absolutely right, is between your friends, they are your models. You can do what you want. Here's the rules we've made for you. Take them and expand on them and how you wish. And then it comes in talking about how you can use them in open play games are very straightforward. Just use what you want. It's a common way to sum that up. But when it comes to narrative, you can do things like this. Suggest like every time you win a battle, your general improves something. Like on one battle, he may find his a wounded beast he takes as a minor companion, or like he finds his armor now that it's improved 1 to his save. There's lots of little bits of flavor there. You can build it up, and if you want to, you can even do things where you have your hero on foot, then you make one with him mounted, and then you make one with him riding a dragon. As an example, you could have 3 different versions of this character you've made up, which could be something you could build for a narrative campaign. And then if you're want to use it for match play, I believe they say however many destiny points your heroes ended up costing times that by 10 is a rough guide on how you do it.
Yeah. And then on the next few pages, I'm not sure if you've taken screenshots of these, there's a couple of lovely conversions, lovely pictures, including this was featured in one of the articles, but an amazing looking vampire lord on zombie dragon.
That's the one I screenshot. That's the only one I've got because I knew it would come up. Because
it looks so good.
This is like, and I think a few people have said, I can't remember who it was, but on the Discord saying that they're tempted to do it with Archeon, because that is just, you can see how they've done it as well, so it makes it even more tempting to do. But that's beautiful. Really, yeah. That's why I had it as my thumbnail for the other video, because it's lovely. And I hadn't seen this on the community page before. That doesn't mean it wasn't there, but I just hadn't seen it online before. So
yeah, there was a small article just with a couple of photos.
Yeah, it's good, and it just gives you inspiration, I think. So yeah, that's cool, and that is the Anvil.
Anvil.
So yeah, that's good. Like I say, I may do another video looking fully and reading word for word, but I just want to do a summary of this video. Okay, so now moving on to the pitch battle stuff. So match play. A few inherent changes I just want to talk about. So we all kind of can picture in our head the standard pitch battle chart you use for 2,000 points. Means you can only have 6 leaders, you need at least 3 battle line, you can only have 4 monsters, etc. Now they've added another one to it, which is you can only have up to 3 endless spells. For me, I've never taken more than 3 as far as I can remember. What are your thoughts behind this, Monty, especially as a Seraphon player?
I don't. Funnily enough, my Flesh Eater army is probably the one that brings the most endless spells. But I think I can understand why. I think I get why they've done it, but it has also shot my theory list of just spamming endless spells in the foot. But I can see why they've done it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's to be honest, it's a change that's not really going to affect me. I think I've played armies before where they've had more than three, and not to say it's too powerful and stuff, because sometimes it just depends on dice rolls and stuff. But I have been hit quite hard by endless spells before, and if you don't have really any like casters in your army, it's quite hard to deal with them.
Mm.
So maybe it's a good change, but I'm quite neutral on it. I think I'm happy for it. Hopefully, it doesn't affect people too badly. Now, a big rule for me that's came into this is called the special rule. They haven't given it any other name. They just called it special rule, which means that essentially when you make a ward save, a death save, a fire slayer save, whatever you want to call it, you can only make one of those saves. So if I got a Abhorrent Ghoul King on Terrorgeist and he casts a spell on him, which is Unholy Vitality, I believe it's called, which gives him a 5-up death save. But he's also Flesh Eater Court, so he gets Deathless Courtiers. So the way how I've been playing it, and the majority of people have been playing it, is you get a 5-up and then a 6-up. But now they've made it so you would have to choose which one you get. So you'd always take the better one. And this has came up in conversation with me and Monty before this video, and it's good that there's clarification on it.
Yeah, and I think it's just also important to clarify these are sort of mortal wound death saves. So you can still have a normal save roll and then this, but you can't have 2 mortal wound saves.
Yeah, exactly. So one that a lot of armies don't have a way to generate more than one anyway, but a way could be if you're standing next to mystical terrain, presumably that's still the same, to give you a 6-up save, death save, and then you've already got a death save as an example. So I imagine like Fire Slayers, I think I fought them when they had like a crap ton of these, so that'd be quite cool. Not to deal with that anymore. But no, so they're like 2 main sort of changes we've got on the start for the pitch battles. And then the only other thing I want to kind of mention for pitch battles is looking at the main rules. Triumphs have changed. So we now only have the first 3 triumphs we ever got in Age of Sigmar, which are, well, since General's Handbook. So we've got Inspired, which was the one that let you reroll hit rolls once per game, and then we got Bloodthirsty, so do that with wounds, and then Indomitable, so do that with saves. And that's a D3 chart now rather than D6. I'm happy with that. It's just easier to remember, to be fair. Also, if I am playing Bone Reapers, it now means that I get more good stuff and not useless stuff, which I think I would need, which is good. Especially if I can get the reroll save rolls on a character with a drop save. Very nice. Cool. And then there's no need to dive further into that. And then terrain. I'm not going to read through all that terrain. Read through as your leisure. If you have not got the book, but you can read the very small writing on this video, feel free to pause it and read it. But terrain for me used to be really cool when it used to basically ruin your army and kill you. But as soon as they started making terrain give you benefits, I'm like, oh, that's boring. It used to be like deadly. Roll a dice. It was either a 6 or a 1. Your character's slain. If like you could have Nagash, the supreme unlord of the undead, but he was killed by tripping over a swamp. And then they took it away, which was annoying. But anyway, so we've got that. We then also we've got the battle plans, which I'm just going to. I'm not going to look into these because we haven't got loads of time in this video, unfortunately. And you could stare at these for ages. Like I said, I probably will do a better video going over battle plans later. But just to say, we've lost 2. So I believe we lost Duality of Death and the Relocation Orb, and we've gained a couple others. I have had a quick look through these as well, and there have been a few changes, a few tweaks. So I don't think they've completely all the same. Even if you just look at the deployment, you go, oh, deployment's changed, everything else will be the same. There are different ones, like I believe it's 3 Places of Power, or one of those, where it used to be a hero captured objective. Now it's a battle line, only battle line. I think that's the one. Star Strike's gone down from having like 12 points on your side, where the comment could come down to just having 6 again. So that's a nice, simple change. They've all had various changes at some point. Shifting objectives, the deployments got smaller. And we've got like the Blade's Edge is one of the new ones. Total commitment's the same, so well, it's still here. And then you've got Force in the Hand, which is a new one as well, which looks interesting. Quite a few objectives there. And just a quick one, because just a quick thing to mention, so we don't skip through them too quickly. Is the Blade's Edge is a game where you can actually take away objectives on the board. You can delete them without getting...
Yeah, that looked really fun. It looked interesting.
I'll tell you what.
Just delete an objective.
Shall we have a quick read through this one so we can say we've read through one?
Yeah. I think this is one that is interesting enough.
So this is one of the new ones, and it's called the Blade's Edge. So we will read the narrative on this one. So I'm pretty sure this is the same narrative for all of them. Two armies collide on a sacred ground that is prized by both generals. So close are the key areas of control that rival warriors cannot help but come into contact, no matter where they choose to make their stand. This does not sound COVID friendly. So we have objectives. So set up 6 objectives, 3 objectives in each player's territory as shown on the map. And then at the start of each of the battle round after the first, the player taking the second turn in the battle round can pick one objective on the battlefield and remove it from play. Pretty big stuff, that. Because a lot of the time it's... Let's say it's getting late game, you win the priority, you can't really outgun your opponent in combat, but if you just sit there for that extra turn, you're just going to clock loads of objectives. But in this case, your opponent could just take away the objective that you were getting most of your points from. So it's quite interesting. And then setup, I think, is kind of the same. And then that's pretty much it, really, to be honest. You get 1 victory point for each objective. Glorious Victory. So this is the auxiliary objectives. So this is basically a way for them. I've mentioned it before when I looked at a preview for the pre-order for General's Handbook. And auxiliary objectives are secondary objectives, which are a way for your games to not just come down to who killed the most if you've both got the same points. Which I think is nice. I think it's cool. I think it adds more variety to the game, because sometimes when you turn up to games at tournaments, you just look and you just go, the matchup here is just not good. At least I have something else to go for during the game. And I think that's a nice change. What are your thoughts on it, Monty?
Yeah, I think it's more interesting because we have had a game that almost came down to that draw and deciding,
yes,
just who killed the most. So I think giving these actual objectives to do on top of just the main ones, it's more interesting than just kill, because not all armies are just kill, and you might be in a game where you find playing the objectives is easier. I've definitely had games where I found I've been losing in the combats, but I've still managed to win by playing the objectives. So it's just I would say, more interesting way of finalising the draws.
Agreed. And I would say the interesting thing here is that draws, I think, are going to be more common, because if both players just go for the major victory and they ignore the auxiliary objectives, then you draw. Whereas before, unless you scored exactly the same amount of kill points, it was very hard to do that. So I think that'll be interesting. And I agree. And not all the... If you're wondering what auxiliary objectives are, it's a list of secondary objectives you can choose for your games, I believe. You can go have a look at it in your own GHB. And they're not all killing. Some of them might be destroying an enemy unit, but some of them might be have more models in your opponent's territory than they do at the end of the game. Little things like that. Which are nice, and I think is a way to freshen up the games a little bit. Just another thing they've added on to the battle plans is, I believe for like every battle plan now, they've added on like the battle length, saying the battle lasts for 5 battle rounds, which is always standard, but it's interesting how they've added that on. And something else they've added on to a lot of battle plans, which I'm very happy to say, is they've actually added, in most cases, better measurements for you to be able to set up your game, which is absolutely fantastic. It's a question I actually asked when I was at Blood and Glory. I said, could you please, for the next battle plan, next General's Handbook, actually add measurements on? And here we go, we've got measurements. So I'm not saying I'm the reason, but I will take all credit for that. I did get not the best answer. The answer I was given is people play on different size tables, so they don't want to tell you what measurement you should set up. Everyone plays on a 4x4 or a 6x4. That's a very lazy answer in my opinion. Anyway, cool. So we've done that. All we're going to look at now is a very quick look at the points. Now, one of the things I learned by going through the points for the units in Age of Sigmar and the new German's Handbook is I looked and was like, oh, there's quite a few things that have changed. And then people were like, no, these things changed in December. And I knew about some of them, but I didn't know about all of them. So unfortunately, Games Workshop hasn't put a little star next to the units that have changed since December. They've put a star next to the units next to everything that's changed since the last German's Handbook. So that doesn't help to be able to differentiate stuff. Like, for example, the first thing we're looking up here is Beasts of Chaos, yeah? And pretty much all their, well, half of their stuff says has changed, but it hasn't actually changed since their last point change, which is I think is a bit annoying. Is that something that's annoyed you a little bit, Monty? Or just a little bit confusing to try and figure out.
Yeah, I think it depends on, not everyone is going to pay attention completely to, maybe the changes that happen online or in December. If you're just going by what books you have at hand, then it's useful, which might not be everyone. I'm sure most people will pay attention to them or use the Age of Sigmar app. So you can, or if you have Azir, then you'll see these points changes as they come into the app as well. But for those that just use the books, I can see why they did it as well.
Yeah. So that's fair enough. So going over a few of them, and like I say, we've got about 15 minutes left of the video. I ended up talking about creating your hero. Like when I was, and I'm going to waste more time now. When I was a child, I was once honoured enough to go to a Build-A-Bear workshop, and I had an absolute blast. And now I feel like as an adult, I can do that with plastic instruments that you can have a real good time with. So. Yeah. Anyway, go back to the points. Okay, so like I said, we missed stuff out. I'll do a proper review. This is just a bit of fun, this video. So, what I'd like to say, Zangors, no longer Mass Legion discount. So you got to deal with that one. And that's the only one I've just quickly read. What have we got? A Chimera has gone down in 20 points. Obviously, I'm reviewing Beast of Chaos at the moment, so this will get a lot more better attention. We've got a Doom Ball. Has that gone down? As you can see on my right hand screen, I've got the December points. On my left is today's points. So we are comparing them. That hasn't gone down. Dragon Ogre Shigaroth. That has gone down 10 points. And something I'd like to say throughout the point changes, something I've seen from leaks and everything, is there doesn't really seem to be any drastic point changes. Things that have gone down, bar a few exceptions, tend to have just gone down by 10 or 20 points. So that if you're looking for something to have gone down by 100, I don't think we're going to see that, and we didn't really see that last year either. They've been playing it quite safe. Would you say that's fair enough from what you've seen, Monty?
Yeah, there's been a few changes that haven't been huge, sort of 10, 20 points here, as you were saying. To be fair, the Ideneth with the Eidolons, those have had some pretty big changes with 40 points with one and 60 points with the other, which is pretty big, I would say. I'm not sure how this will change it. I've got a small Ideneth army, but not a huge one, and I don't know enough about them to see how this would impact if people would use them or not. Mm-hmm. But it's a reasonable change. I don't know if it's enough, too much, too little, but it's a big change.
I think it's. I've got a guy who runs Ideneth who says that he would have definitely liked to have seen a lower point cost for them. But what I said is that it gives you a reason now to try it out again.
Yeah, it's one that could be worth checking out again.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so just to sort of summarise stuff, the Beast of Chaos, there's been a few things that have gone down by an extra 10 points. Things like Dragon Ogres, Zangor Shamans. There's been a couple of things. Cool. So going on to the next one, which is going to be
Blades of Corn.
Blades of Corn. And I think they did a leak of this online, and then someone was like, "There's no Skull Reapers on here, which I'm actually going to look out for to see if Skull Reapers are on there, so they've missed them out.
Yes, they are.
They are, cool. Someone lied to me. Okay, so what has... okay, to be fair, I remember looking through this, and I think the only thing that's gone down is Volgarath, the Scarred, and Skolok, the Skull Horse of Khorne, which is something that I am very happy with. Don't really care about the rest of Khorne. Very happy that that's gone down. It's like basically the only Khorne model I own. What am I going to spend the extra 100 points on? Someone did actually ask me that, and probably Flesh Hounds because they're awesome. I don't know if their rules are good, but they just look really cool.
The new models are pretty cool.
Yeah, they're pretty rad. And that's a word I have not said for a long time. So I'm quite happy with that. The other stuff could have... I've heard people say other stuff should have came down more. Because Khorne is not even one of the most competitive armies at the moment, like in combat. And Khorne is all about combat. You know, maybe that's a hint that things should have changed a bit more for them. But here we are. Okay, so that is Khorne. The next one we're going to look at is going to be Disciples of Tzeentch. Hopefully Change Host has gone down a little bit in points. What do you reckon?
Not seeing any changes for Tzeentch.
No changes. What we've got? Hedonites or Slaanesh. Hopefully that... I want them to go up more in points. I haven't even fought them since they were really powerful, so I don't know if they need to, but I hope they have. Okay, so I'm just gonna go straight to Keeper City Kids. 380, okay, yeah, that's gone up. Straxy Hellbane, that's gone up. From last time I looked at it anyway. Fiends, I hope they came down because Fiends are really cool, but they weren't worth taking.
Fiends are now 190. I'm not sure what their old one was.
So basically on the right hand screen, I'm trying to get up their points change in December. It looks like they didn't have one. They just had points to their depravity cost change. So it would be so whatever's got a star next to it. From what I think is actually a legitimate change since their battle tome. So
since their battle tome, not necessarily since December, is that then?
Yes.
Yeah.
So everything with a star here is actually new. That's quite cool. I say that, I mean, like, I think most of these things have gone up in points, but that's quite cool. I fought against a Slaanesh army, and it just... I didn't have the best time. Don't get me wrong, I've ran Knights of Slaanesh, but I ran it with Chaos Warriors and Chaos Knights. So that was kind of a different aspect. I ran it once with Keepers just to give my IDNF friend a nightmares because I hate him. And then after seeing what they could do in turn 1, I wiped out majority of his army. I had enough points. I didn't even lose a keeper, but I had enough points to bring like 3 or 2 keepers on. And I was like, yep, this is not an army I want to have in the local community. I sold the keepers separately. One went to... I think somewhere in Northern Ireland. And then the other one went to... I want to say... I can't remember the country, but somewhere in Eastern Europe. I split them up. You know, like when you get a really powerful character, like a bad guy for a film, they cut up his corpse and spread it around the world. It's kind of what I did.
It's like the classic mini wargaming to field a demon prince bit. Don't know if you've seen that.
I haven't seen that bit, but is that kind of on the same lines?
Yeah, it's a old mini wargaming sketch where I think it was Matt got a demon prince. And it started teleporting around, following him everywhere. So he chopped it up, sent it all around, and it still came back and things like that.
I might have to watch that. That sounds quite funny.
A classic.
It's like what was that? I was watching the other day. I was watching some of the re-rolling ones, and they do some stuff down there before their bits, which is quite good. Anyway, sorry. I'm concerned.
Skaven.
I've only got 5 minutes. Legion of Azor.
No. Wait, no. Legion of Asgard. I'm missing them all. Legion.
They've. I thought that was going to be Legion of the Nagash. I kind of went yes, but it's not. No changes there. Mega King of Nurgle.
Quite a few with Nurgle. Seems to be quite a few.
Now the thing I don't understand with Nurgle is that like the biggest change they did, or the most impactful one really, is by making Blight Kings cheaper, and that's what when I fought against Nurgle armies, they spam Blight Kings, so now they can just spam more. Which I'm not saying is they make them. The Blight Kings are stomping around, kicking everyone down, but I mean, like, it would just be nice to add some more variety. Add what are the Blight Kings who ride the Plague Drones called? What are they called?
Plague Drone.
Puskull Blight Lords. That sounds like them.
I'm not sure. I don't play them.
Do you know the one I'm talking about though?
I know the one you're talking about.
I think they're called like Puskull Blight Lords. Anyway, make them. Okay, I think they have came down. They've came down 10 in points, but make them come down more. Make all these like. I mean, Nurgle isn't for me, but I think they're one of the cooler units in the Nurgle range for my taste. So I think let's see more of those on the table. I think that's something you're going to hear me say when I look at a lot of these points. Is I wanted them to, for the units that no one took because they weren't worth the points, cut them down in points, and if it turns out that they become really powerful, then that's just 6 months we're going to have to deal with it, but it will be interesting. But unfortunately it doesn't seem like they've done that. Do you think that would have been cool to try and give these other units? It's like Idnif Deepkin, it seems to be Mozarguard are like the only unit that everyone takes. It just would have been nice to see some more things.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough saying that you want to see changes. Yeah, it's not necessarily a bad idea, but at the same time, some of the units are the way they are because they are meant to be the core of an army, and suddenly changing that ruins the kind of vibe of an army.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. But I think change can be good, because Idnif Deepkin, that book came out about 2 years ago.
So it's a bit old now.
And Eels have been like the get-go start for that army since. So I just think like I just think it'd be nicer to see more toys on the table. But here we are. Anyway, so we've got those, and then we've got our 3 minutes to do the rest. Okay. What is the next one? What's
Skaven? Skaven is next. I'm not sure if there's a fair few changes. I'm not sure if they're increases, decreases. It sort of seems to be
right.
Through a lot of the
solution for
ones.
the video, because we only have 3 minutes left. We're going to go through the ones that have changes. When we go through, we're going to say they have changed. Okay, so Skaven has changes, and this could be potentially December changes. Oh no, it has got changed because the Warp, Lightning, Vortex came down in points, I think.
Slaves don't seem to have any changes.
What?
I'm not seeing any stars through the Slaves to Darkness.
I wanted... It had to have came down. The guy in Carcadrak, the new Chaos Lord and that Rhino Lizard thing, the Carcadrak, that should have came down.
Still 250.
What? But I could get a Demon for it, cheap ass. Okay, don't have time. Flesh Eater Courts have gone up, so that's Chaos. Flesh Eater Courts have gone up, so Abhorrent Archregent, Abhorrent Ghoul King gone up. It's going to ruin some lists, but here we go. I can see why people would complain about the Archregent, and that's why it went up. I can kind of see that, for sure. But the Abhorrent Ghoul King, I mean, come on, guys.
Yeah, the Archregent also makes sense, because if it's 200 points and can summon 20 ghouls, the Archregent itself is free.
Yeah.
But I think this was also a December change, now that I think about it.
Yeah.
I think the Flesh Eater saw that changes then.
Yeah, I just like I said, we missed anything out like that, guys. And I say like, why is that changing? It's actually changed in December, and I didn't realise. Apologies. There's a lot of armies and not a lot of time.
Nagash has a few changes.
Yep, it's had the Blood Knights I think came down. Prince of Horde Raids came down, I think. Okay, here's just something I want to say now. I want to mention it. I believe that units should have different points depending on what army you're taking them in. Nagash should not be 880 points in a Legions of Nagash army, because he's simply not worth it at all. Even 800, I'd say, not worth it. But in Bone Reapers, he arguably is, so that's why he's that price. It's the same with Grimghast Reapers. I believe Grimghast Reapers should be cheaper in a Nighthaunt army than in a Legions of Nagash army. And I don't think that's a very complicated thing for them to introduce. I think it's very straightforward. And if someone then tries to ally in Nighthaunt, Grimgosh Reapers to try and get them cheaper, it's just a flat out, if they're allied in, they then go up in points. I think that would be, and I've sort of said that before, and some people have gone, "Oh, it's a bit complicated to do." I don't think it's complicated. I think it's pretty straightforward, because I can't take my Nagash in a Legions of the Nagash army. What the fuck, and be like, he's more powerful in an army that does not have his name in it.
Yeah.
Okay, so sorry. So moving on to the next one. Nighthaunt, we've seen a few changes. Mongols came down. I think an average when I've been building on my app, Nighthaunt armies, roughly I'm saving about 30 points. So they could have gone down more. I would have liked them to have gone down more, but I'm happy they've gone down something. It's progress. Is that kind of the same thoughts?
Yeah. I think similar to Ideneth with my Nighthaunt, I've only got a very small army, so I don't know enough about them to comment on that.
Cool, that's fine. Just agree with me. Okay, so Oshroach Bone Reapers didn't change. That's fine. As some people, I think I can't. Again, with separate points. I think firstly, fix Petrify Elite. Change the rule. But if you're not going to change it, Petrify Elite points and normal points. Okay, so we got that. Destruction.
Gloomspite or changes.
They've got changes. There's enough stars here to say that something must have changed since December. Ogre Tribe have got
no changes.
I think they could have done with some probably, but they haven't got any, unfortunately. Orc War Clans, no changes.
Not seeing any. Seeing any.
This is fantastic. Caesar Sigmar.
Sons of Behemoth.
No changes. Drake's War Knights, maybe. Well,
interesting that there's the Sons of Behemoth on this.
I must have gone past that.
There's the Sons of Behemoth, even though they're not out yet as of recording this.
Yeah, okay, so Big Giants, 490 points by looks of things, squinting and looking at that.
All 490.
Cool. Caesar Sigmar, maybe one or two changes. Wild Riders, Drake's One Knights. Daughters of Cain, there's a few stars there, so that maybe changes. Fire Slayers, a few stars.
Only a couple.
Yeah, Ideneth Deep can definitely have had some changes.
Yeah.
We've apologies because we haven't got a lot of time, but we have mentioned a couple of notes with the Ideneth, so we'll go through that another time. Canon Overlords haven't. Lumineth
None for them. Lumineth doesn't seem to have any either, but they've just come out, to be fair. Seraphon, none.
That's the other thing to mention as well, because all this is printed, because this is from books, General's Handbook. This apparently went to print like 9 months ago. So if you're thinking like something's happened in that time, which has made one unit a lot weaker, or a lot stronger, and it should go up in points, it was 9 months ago. So they weren't, and that's why me and Monty said earlier they should in the future look at doing maybe what they're doing a bit of 40k, where they do the points digitally so they can be updated more often to represent the meta. Stormcast, a shitload of stars, so presumably something's changed.
Sylvaneth, a fair few of changes as well.
I think I think with Sylvaneth since December, because I remember reading something online, I think there's only been a couple of things, and it hasn't been enough to try and get them more competitively, unfortunately.
Yeah. And then lastly, endless spells and that sort of thing. The only changes is to the Soul Screen Bridge and the Penumbral Engine.
It still won't make me take the engine, but it's cool to see it's gone down in points. Monsters Arcanum, there's been a few changes there, and I know I am just massively generalising, but that's because I was meant to finish the video 3 minutes ago. But that's okay. Okay, and then Team Kings are still in here and stuff by the looks of things, so that's good for people who spent all the money all those years ago. Anyway, so with that, that's going to bring us to the end of the video now. I apologise, like I said, it's been a bit rushed, this video, but essentially it was either today ended up had to do quite a few things, so it got to the point where it's like this video was going to happen or it wasn't going to happen, so I thought it'd be nicer to do a quick video rather than none at all. And then I don't know, maybe I can have you back on the channel at a later date, Monty, to go over, like, I don't know, we could do a whole video on certain changes that's happened, which I think would be nice. This is just an initial, and like I'd like to say is, if you can see the date and time at the bottom right of my screen, this is before any FAQs for the General's Handbook. This is in case something's changed since we've been talking about it. I'm going to hopefully get this video uploaded either today, the Saturday, or tomorrow, the Sunday. But just for you guys to know, if there's something happens, that's fine, we didn't see it. But what I am interested, I'm sure Monty is as well, is to hear your thoughts in the comments down below, because are there certain things that you're really excited about? Because something I wanted to talk about, Skies of Slaughter, but unfortunately we didn't have time, so we can talk about that another time. But if you guys are really excited for things like that, let us know down below, or let us know what heroes you want to create in the Anvil Apotheosis, because I think that's the bit we talked about for the longest, funny enough. But yeah, so like I say, Monty, thank you very much for joining me, and I'd like to say to everyone who's watched this video, if you have enjoyed it, please like, subscribe, comment down below. It's absolutely free for you guys to do so. It massively helps the channel. Massive shout out to my patrons, they keep the channel going. If you'd like to become one, there's a link in the description down below. And again, Monty, thank you very much for being here.
It's been lovely having me.
It's I couldn't agree more. So, anyway, guys, as always, stay safe, wash your hands, everything like that. If you're in a country that says that you can run around and hug each other anymore, stay inside, and don't drink bleach. And then, remember, until next time, Nagash us all, and all is one in Nagash.